Hey everybody, it's Tim here, and here's a look at what else is happening on the Midwest Podcast Network. The Midwest Game Nerds are back this week talking about Helldivers 2 and 2 Final Fantasy games. The Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I don't know what the difference is between these two games, but they do. So check them out wherever you get your podcasts. They also recorded a new side quest bonus episode featuring music recommendations from John, a review of spiced Coca-Cola, which is not like Pepsi Holiday Spice. It seems like Pepsi Holiday Spice is the superior pop from way back in the day. I hope they bring it back soon. And speaking of spice, the boys talk a little Dune 2. Willie and I also recorded our bonus episode, Tiny Terror, that is up on our Patreon now, taking a look at some of the big Detroit area horror and Comic Cons coming up this spring, the guest list, things like that. You can check both of these episodes out now on our Patreon, patreon.com/MidwestPodNet, and it's only $1. And finally, if you are in the Metro Detroit area this weekend, you can see Willie as he calls the action for Superior Championship Wrestling presents Easter Mayhem this Saturday at 5 p.m. in Lincoln Park at the Lincoln Park Bandshell. This is a charity show in conjunction with Luna's Helping Hands, a non-profit focused on youth engagement in the community, as well as addiction prevention and domestic abuse victims. You can check them out at lunashelpinghands.com. That is it for this week. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and enjoy the show. All right, we're back after a long time and also some technical difficulties before recording tonight.
Yeah, it feels like the fates have moved against us.
They do not want us to record our episode on road games.
No. The world is not ready for...
Why would that be? I don't know. This is not a particularly controversial film.
No. It's a bit of a forgotten film, I think, in a lot of ways. Maybe like the universe wants us to forget.
Yeah.
But spoiler alert, I enjoyed it.
No, I would not want to forget this movie. It's kind of like we're fighting against nature right now, much like many of the Aussie horror movies, like Man versus Nature or Nature versus Man.
Yes, very true. Nature's Grave. Remember that one?
Yeah, Nature's Grave. Was that Jamie Blanks?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie Blanks. I like Jamie Blanks.
I'm a big Jamie Blanks fan. Yeah.
I'm Tim.
I'm Willie.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope everybody enjoyed, though. I think the last time you and I were seen and heard was Doug Bradley.
Yeah, if you haven't checked it out, Tim and I were able to interview two Dougs. Mm-hmm.
I know I only said one Doug.
Doug Bradley and Doug Schultz.
Doug and Douglas, right?
Doug and Douglas.
Yes.
The star and director of... a film that we had the chance to watch ahead of time called Thorns.
Yes.
And, check it out. It's on our YouTube page if you want to see our beautiful faces, which you don't see very often.
No.
And the more beautiful face of Doug Bradley.
Yes.
Who was a gentleman.
Yes, but yes, they're both very nice and very very giving of their time. And I think it's only 17 minutes long. It's in the podcast feed as well if you have missed it. So
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yep.
It was, like you said, it's kind of like a bucket list thing.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't get to do that much.
I didn't think that was it was not on my bingo card for 2024, but I love when things work out. Shout out to the Whip Dog for making that happen.
For hooking it up. Yes, thank you very much.
Yes.
You want to just talk about what we've been doing for the last month?
Fighting illnesses.
Yeah.
Basically, the reason why you haven't heard us in a while is because I believe your family was sick first.
We've been... My wife and I and my child have been sick on and off since Christmas, pretty much.
Same here.
Yeah.
We went through some sort of alarmingly COVID-esque illness that was turned out not to be COVID right before Christmas.
Yeah.
I did not get hit, but Nikki and Josie both did. Then we had a stomach bug that ran through the house. And I did not get hit, but Nikki and Josie did. And now we had the flu. And Josie was the only casualty of the flu.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is,
I haven't had the flu. Oh my gosh. I haven't had the flu in so long. And
you get your flu shot?
Yeah,
Helps.
it's been a bit. It's
It
been a
helps.
bit. Yeah, I'm sure it does. It's just me being stupid and lazy.
Yeah, it's not a matter of you're not a vaccine denier.
No, it's
You're
me going,
just,
oh crap, yeah, now that you mentioned you had the flu, I didn't get a flu shot.
Right. So I didn't get hit by that. So what I'm trying to say is I'm invincible to illness.
You are.
3 separate illnesses in this house. I didn't get hit once. Do you know what I honestly think it is? It's pure internal adrenaline and like the weird mental to physical translation of me needing to be up and about to like carry everybody through.
Yeah.
I swear. That's part of it. There are moments
you're like one of those people who gets like a surge of adrenaline, like lifts up a car off a child, but you're doing it.
But instead I just don't get sick when I... That's my theory. Or I have a killer immune system. I don't know. Maybe I do. But
you may. You just may.
We've been dealing with illnesses in the house. You have as well, but we are back.
We decided like it was best. It's okay not to risk our health and the health of our loved ones or anybody really to record an episode about road games.
No, it's not. We could have done it remotely, I suppose, but
I don't like doing that.
We did it when we had to.
Yes.
And I think we did a good job, an admirable job of like carrying on, but it's not the same for me, and it sounds like for you too. There's something about getting together and doing this that to me it makes it worthwhile. So
absolutely,
I hope you guys understand why we decided not to do that. But yeah, here we are. We made it.
Here we are in a room for
That's right. What would it be without a little singing on an episode of Horror Movie Yearbook? A little vocalization.
What have we been watching in the time since we've been sick? How do you want to do this? You want to go back and forth? You want to go you first, me second?
Yeah, I could go first. I could do that. And Nikki and I finally watched the second season of Loki.
Okay.
Which was directed by Benson and Moorhead.
Yes.
And we both enjoyed it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it hits the heights of season 1 for me. Maybe it's because it's a sophomore season, but as far as sophomore seasons go, I think it was still pretty strong. You've seen this?
Yes, I would agree. I did, however, really like the ending, if I recall correctly. I really like. Yep. I thought that was the high point for me, and maybe one of the high points of the series. Period.
I agree too.
Yeah.
It all shook out in the end, and I think there was some really cool stuff. I think that they were the right directors for it.
Let me ask you a slight spoilery thing. So anybody spoiler phobic, skip ahead maybe a minute.
Yeah.
Where do you take it as them? I mean, I know all the stuff going on, but how did you feel it wrapped up the Kang stuff? Do you feel like it was wrapped up, or do you feel like they left it open? Because I kind of felt like they could go either way, but I kind of felt like it's okay. Like even without all of the other Jonathan Major stuff, I kind of felt like they wrapped it up in some ways.
I feel like it was a really smart way to pick a path, and whether or not that was something that they decided to do when certain real life things happened, I don't know. I'm not sure. We probably will never know, but I think it was smart. And let's be honest, the hype around Kang was not overly high even before any of the stuff happened.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people liked him in the first season of Loki, that finale, but I don't think people were as over the moon about that being the next big villain as they were with Thanos.
Right.
Even though Thanos, I felt like for a while they're kind of drug on. I was like, all right, come on. But by the time he made his presence felt, I think people are still hyped enough to kind of accept him as the big bad guy. Kang, Quantumania didn't help.
Right.
I didn't dislike Quantumania. I thought it was fine. But I don't think there was anything in there that made me go like, whoa, I can't wait to see Kang come back and like.
I kind of felt it, yeah. I felt the same way with Loki, like him in Loki season 2. I'm like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the performance is fine. I'm not. It's just a matter of like.
That was my least favorite of his performances.
Yes.
Because I thought he was really, really broad and over the top.
Really, really over the top. But I mean, whatever they choose to do, who knows? But
Or I'm kind of at the point too where like I'm okay with even from a story like perspective. I'm maybe with you a little bit. Just skipping can we get to Secret Wars a little quicker because that's what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the end goal here, and that's cool. Like I love Secret Wars. I think it's going to take more probably from the second Secret Wars than it is the original,
the Hickman version, right? Yeah.
Right. And I haven't read it. I don't know it. I know bits and pieces. I've heard good things. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the thing with Kang of all, like Marvel has not been shy about in the past about recasting roles.
Yeah.
They obviously recast War Machine. They've recast the Hulk.
It's very easy to do now with the whole variant thing too.
Well, and here's the thing: Kang is all about the whole multiverse thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, even at the end of Quantumania, you see like a billion different Kangs, and some are like Skrulls, and some are all sorts of different, tentacle monsters and stuff. So, like, you could kind of use that. I don't know. I guess do it whatever you think is best. I don't know. We'll see. I enjoyed it overall. I'm not as big of a hater as some people are on the individual stuff we've got from Marvel in this whatever phase we're in, 4 or 5. I don't even know anymore.
I don't know either.
I think as individual projects, I think they're at about a 60-40 hit rate for me, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Maybe a little weaker than their hit rate before. I think the thing that they've definitely lost sight of is what are we doing with these characters? Like, okay, you're doing the projects, and that's cool, but like, it's funny, there were a lot of complaints about how overly shared everything was in that first wave of Marvel stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like how everything had to have tie-ins to other stuff. But it also kept your audiences like coming back for more.
Yeah.
And I think there were some projects that did it really well and some projects that did not do it so well. I think Iron Man 2 was an example of like not doing it well. I think there were, however, other ones that were like pretty good about balancing being an actual complete story, but also like furthering whatever the Thanos stuff, I guess. Right? So
yeah. It's become like, in a lot of ways, it's become like actual comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And I am someone who really, I like that, but I understand that like there's a reason why comic books aren't as popular as they used to be in a lot of ways. It's because it's hard to be like, go in and pick up an X-Men book and know that that's like its own universe, and then go up and pick up an Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like you've got all these different things, and you're right, they don't ever really come together. And I'm kind of back to them like let's pare it back. They've talked about retooling, which I think is a good word, because I don't think it needs a full-on reboot at all. I think it just needs. They need to tighten some things up.
They need to be more selective about.
DC needs a reboot. Like
yes,
yeah, I don't think the Marvel thing does, and I think a year break is a good thing.
I think it's a very good thing, and I think that what they need to. The biggest thing for me is when I look at the movies that I've liked out of this last. I hate the word. Sorry, guys. I know not all of you are Marvel fans, so I apologize for rambling, but. I think the big thing that, and I think this is true for any film, horror films included. The big thing that maybe they've lost sight of a little bit here, is that I don't think it's fatigue of that genre. I think it's just like any period of horror films where we've had a waning time period. It's fatigue of okay movies,
right?
Like
It's, I mean, found footage. Like,
Yes.
we go back and watch these good
Yes.
found footage movies that are like kind of classics.
They
of the
still
genre.
hold up.
They still hold up.
Blair Witch.
But like, we're not in the middle of it anymore, and we kind of, because you and I both like went like we go. I remember being like really tired of found footage movies for a while in the 2000s and the 10s, and then now we go back and watch some of them, and there is like a charm to them. But we're watching the good stuff.
It's
Mostly, yeah.
yeah. That's a very good analogy for that. Like it's a mixture of sheer volume of what's coming out. It's just a lot of content, a lot of stuff. Lack of oversight, I think, sometimes because of how much. Like, you can only manage so much stuff at one time. And quite frankly, when you look at the stuff that's worked really well, it's in my opinion, stuff like Guardians 3. Who directed that? James Gunn. That's a director.
Yeah.
That's like a visionary. Like he has a voice. He is a Sam Raimi. I like Doctor Strange.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Raimi is an example of that. So when you look at the ones I think that really worked for me, it was films and shows that had a very distinct voice.
Yeah.
And they allowed the filmmaker to actually like put their stamp on what they were doing. I think, and I'm not dissing any filmmakers that are like newer that Marvel hired in as kind of directors for hire a little bit.
Right.
But like, I think people are tired of seeing those because they just feel like movies by committee a little bit.
For sure.
So anyway, so Loki season 2, I enjoyed it. Tim, what do you got?
All right. So I am going to, are we going back and forth, or is that what we're doing? Okay, I'll start here. I did a little bit of an Aussie horror in the 70s crash course.
Oh my gosh.
But that's the thing. It was like a month or two ago. So I watched like 4 movies, and one of them I'm blanking on. But the 2 I watched Picnic at Hanging Rock, which I won't talk about. That's the Peter Weir movie from around that time. That is very much a type of movie that's not for me. It's very like, it's kind of like dreamlike. Not for me. But I did 2 that were for me were Wake and Fright, which is the like 1970 movie about the school teacher who goes out into the outback. It's kind of like it's like a little bit like, I'll just say like a Deliverance in the outback.
Oh,
and wow. Donald Pleasance is in it, and it's a performance that is like unhinged, like just evil. It's awesome.
Is he sweet?
It's so good. This is on Tubi. So of the Australian
Wake and Fright?
Wake in Fright.
Wake in Fright.
Yes. And now the other one I wanted to talk about is actually by the director of the movie we're about to talk about tonight, Richard Franklin. And this is called Patrick. I watched this couple.
Seen Patrick.
What's that?
Seen it.
Yeah, the comatose.
Yes.
Yes. So a comatose hospital patient, he's essentially like, he's like Carrie, but in a hospital. Like, he's in a coma the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, it's so weird. It just like,
it's kind of cool though.
Yeah, it's cool. Like, this is the other one that I would recommend from the. It's also on Tubi. Like, there's a ton of stuff on there. Just a ton of like early Australian stuff on like Tubi and YouTube as well.
Yeah.
But those were the 2 that when I was watching this. Oh, I think Thirst was the other one, the vampire movie. Yeah. So those are the ones though. Thirst is good too, but those
nice
are the ones
picks,
I wanted to talk.
though.
Yeah. So what I was trying to do was like get an idea of like where Australia, and I'll talk a little bit more when we actually talk about the movie, is where Australian horror movies were around that time, because most of the Aussie horror stuff I've seen is recent or like Razorback.
Yeah. Razorback.
But like recent stuff like the Wormwood movies. What's the Wolf Creek?
Wolf Creek.
Yes,
Yep.
which we should talk about someday.
Mm-hmm.
But
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, those were cool. And then I also watched the documentary that was released about 10 years ago called Not Quite Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
That one I rented because I had never seen it before.
I've seen that one too.
Yeah, it's really good. It's got like Tarantino's in it. Jamie Lee is in it.
I love genre. Like I'm a big fan of documentaries that take you through like lesser known genres.
Yeah,
or through a specific type of like horror noir is a nice one. Like I like when they have a very focused like, these are the kind of films we're going to be discussing.
I finished the Queer for Fear.
I've heard that's
Shudder
good too.
one too. That's by the same people, I think. Yeah, well, it's a Shudder documentary too.
Yeah, right.
But I'm with you. Like, that focus on a subject and really
I
drill
like
down
that.
into it.
Dig into it. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. All right. What do you got?
The only other one I want to mention is I watched Masters of the Universe Revelation.
The Kevin Smith one.
Yes, it came out in 2 parts, 2 6-episode parts. on Netflix. And then I watched Revolution, which is the new one.
Okay. You're a He-Man fan, right? Or a Masters of the Universe fan?
Okay, so so I'm a little bit after the peak of Masters because I'm right in the midst of Turtles. Like that was my sweet spot. Turtles came after.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's why I kind of missed out on the heights of. I mean, they were still around and they were still popular. The toys were still on the shelves, but I missed on the heights of Masters, Transformers, and G.I. Joe. That was that was just before Turtles came in and kind of like.
I caught the tail.
You're
I'm a little older than you.
Yep.
But I remember them like vaguely when I was a kid, and I was into Transformers. Like I loved like Optimus Prime and shit. But like, I was like the tail end, and then Turtles came out, and then I got Turtles and the Ghostbusters cartoon. Where like
so I was Ghostbusters and Turtles, and then Power Rangers after.
Yep.
That.
See, and I was like early Power Rangers, and then I phased out really quickly with Power Rangers.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yep.
My brother was younger, and he liked Power Rangers.
Once they started doing whatever the Turbo or whatever, I was out of it.
Yes.
Like the first couple of years, I was pretty into it, and then I was done.
Yeah.
But but the thing is, I had a ton of Masters of the Universe toys. And it was a mixture of hand-me-downs from cousins that were done with them, and my dad. I've mentioned this before. Funny enough, on Multimedium, I've mentioned it. My dad had a hookup at Toys R Us. This lady that he was super friendly with because he worked right behind a Toys R Us, and when Masters was getting kind of pulled off of shelves and stuff, she was like selling them to him super cheap, like just to clear stock. And so I had a bunch of He-Man toys. I dug it. But like the show wasn't super strong at that point in time. So, however, I watched the recorded version off of TV, off of cable, of the Dolph Lundgren. So my Master of the Universe is the Dolph Lundgren version. What's amazing about this Kevin Smith show is that like the Dolph Lundgren movie is canon to this.
Okay.
Everything is canon to this.
Okay.
So, like, there's characters from the Dolph Lundgren movie that are in the show that are not in the cartoon.
Sweet.
Yeah. He, like, includes, like, quotes from the movie in that. So, like, he's a fan, clearly. And I said canon. Didn't even mean to. It's a canon film. I didn't even mean to do that. But speaking of great documentaries, there's
the Canon Films. Yeah.
Great Canon documentary. But I really liked this. It got review bombed because there's weirdos out there who said it was too woke.
Yes.
I don't know what to tell you. If you're this worked up about a franchise that literally was created to sell toys, I don't know what to say to you. No, I understand why it's special to people. I get it, but let's calm down. It's a lot of fun. Voice cast is great. Mark Hamill's Skeletor, like that's fantastic.
Cock knocker himself.
That's right. Absolutely. Jason Mewes plays some characters.
So I watched the first like couple episodes, and I remember like kind of digging it when it first came out, or maybe the first part because I think they released it in part on Netflix.
Yeah.
And I remember digging it, but I didn't watch much more.
Sarah Michelle Gellar's in it.
Yeah.
William Shatner.
So have you watched all of it?
I've watched both season or both. I don't know. I've watched the whole thing.
So okay.
It's a ton of fun.
Cool.
Keith David. He's Hordak and he's amazing. He's Hordak and he's a couple characters, yeah. But yeah, I was a big fan.
My wife was like She-Ra's like part of the my wife liked that show a lot.
She coming.
Is she? Yeah.
Spoiler alert, she coming.
she liked the Netflix cartoon quite a bit. Or animated series, I should say. It's
the first series, the Revelation, definitely pivots and has more of a kind of a. There's like a kind of a girl, not a girl power vibe, but like there's a like a kind of a female affirmation storyline going on there, but it's really cool.
Yeah,
like it's really cool. Like it's a bummer to me that people couldn't.
They just want
see how neat that is. Like I don't know. I thought it was really cool, but anyway, so I dug it. I think it's great. I had a ton of fun with it. I will watch more if they do more. So yeah.
I have a very cool. I have a horror recommendation movie for you that I think you either will enjoy or at least find fun.
Okay.
It's on Prime.
All right.
It's called Dark Harvest.
Dark Harvest. Okay.
This was a book I read a few years back, and I listened to it actually around Halloween time, and it was great. And it's it's a great fall read if anybody is looking for one of those this coming fall, which is a while away. But it's a period piece, and I would compare it to something like The Purge or Pumpkinhead, like a mix of those two things.
Whoa.
There's a monster called Sawtooth Jack, and he haunts this town in the 50s is the time period it takes place in. And Sawtooth Jack is actually my favorite part of the movie. He's really cool looking. He's kind of like almost kind of like a jack-o'-lantern look to him, but he's like kind of skinny, kind of like a little bit of like a skeleton idea. He's a mix of practical and CGI, I think, but he's awesome looking. This movie was dumped because like it was supposed to come out around the time of like COVID, the pandemic, but then like it got shifted back and they didn't really know what to do with it, and they just kind of released it. Okay. It's a weird movie. I'm not sure it like entirely works, but it's a ton of fun. There's some interesting stuff about like the small mindedness in America, and it's directed by David Slade.
Oh,
who did 30 Days of Night,
Hard Candy,
and the last movie he did was the Twilight movie Eclipse. And he
did a couple Twilight movies, didn't he?
Yeah, he hasn't done anything since, but
big fan of the Twilight series.
It's got a lot of his style from 30 Days of Night. It's a stylish looking movie. Like I said, I don't think
the plot sounds cool.
Yeah, I don't think it's great, but like it's definitely a cool like Halloween season watch, I think, as well.
I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah, the book's
it's
cool
on
too.
my list here, my watch list on Amazon now.
On Prime? Yes.
Which I think exists of two things, so it's gonna happen.
I think you'll at least have some fun with it, because it is very reminiscent of the type of movie we like.
Yeah, that sounds rad. That's all I got, Tim. I don't know if you have anything else.
Let me, can I rapid fire some?
Do it.
Monolith. This is an Aussie horror movie. It's a sci-fi. It's a new one. I rented this one. It stars Lily Sullivan, who was in the latest Evil Dead movie, Evil Dead Rise. She's really great in this. It's kind of a one-woman
Who is she
movie.
Playing in Rise?
Oh, who was she?
Is she the mom?
I think she was the mom.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. But she's really great in this. She's a journalist who is she's fallen to scandal, and now she's forced to podcast. She has to start her own podcast. Poor woman. But no, she does like a supernatural style podcast, like Beyond Believable, and she goes down like a rabbit hole online, as we tend to do. All of us tend to do.
Of course.
And it's about like these black bricks that have some sort of supernatural power, and they're usually preceded by this terrifying vision. It's kind of like the Ring or like Chain Letter, stuff like that.
Okay. I like that.
It gets really creepy at times. The one thing I'll say is it's kind of a single location, single actor movie. And a lot of it is her talking, and it's a little bit minimalist for my taste, I think. But it definitely is effective and creepy in some moments, and I think it's worth a watch. Whenever I rented it, I've decided lately that like if I see something I want to watch, I'm just gonna rent it, because what happens is I go, I want to watch that on whatever streaming service come out, and by the time it hits one of those, I forget that I wanted to watch it.
When you rent something, you're pressed for time.
Yes.
Well, it's like renting stuff from the video store, right? Like you have to return it within a certain time. Better watch it.
Yep.
Or you just wasted your money.
Yes.
Or you'll get a late fee.
The other thing, too, is like I kind of like that 30-day thing where they're like, it'll sit in your library for 30 days.
That's nice. Yeah.
Because I've got Shin Ultraman sitting in there, and I gotta watch it. Like, you're right, because I spent money on it. I've got to watch it.
There's a clock ticking down, pal. I've heard it's sweet.
I want to like it. Those are the things like, it's like Shin Godzilla, and I watched her like, I'm gonna rent this right now.
It looks rad.
I've been playing a game called Inside. This is from the makers of Limbo as well. I think they stopped making games. It was on Switch for $1.
Sounds like everybody stopped making games.
Yeah,
that industry is.
Things are a little rough there, aren't they? But it's a really cool side-scrolling like platformer horror game, kind of creepy. It was $1.99 on Switch, and I'm really digging it. I read a graphic novel called Dark Ride, which is kind of it's like a horror theme park. It's by Josh Williamson, I believe is his name. He wrote Batman for a little bit. I believe he wrote The Punisher for a little bit as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But it's kind of like it's like a theme park with two, like, it's kind of like if Walt Disney had kids that were like super into horror, or if Walt Disney created a horror theme park and he's left it for his kids to run it. And all of the things.
What's it called?
Dark Ride. I'll let you borrow it. I've got the graphic novel.
All right, sweet.
At home. And I've also got to get home tonight because it's the last thing I want to talk about watching is the newest season of Traitors. The
I know you're a fan.
reality show hosted by Alan Cumming. This is fantastic. I can't think of anything horror related to tie it back to. Was Alan Cumming in a horror movie ever? That I'm blanking on?
Not that I can think of.
What about Trishelle from The Real World?
That I'm not sure about.
So the first...
I have a wrestler friend who's a big fan of Traitors as well, by the way.
Oh, really?
He's a big fan.
It's awesome. It's so good.
Yeah.
Traitors is kind of like the Hail Hydra game, or like Secret Hitler in a way, where you have a couple of traitors and you have what you call faithfuls. And the traitors are trying to go amongst the people undetected the entire game, because if they make it to the end, they win the money. If the faithfuls smoke them out, they win the money.
What is this on again?
This is on Peacock.
Peacock, okay.
Yes. Alan Cumming hosts it, and what he does is he comes down every morning in his castle. He says it's his castle. I don't think exactly his castle, but he comes down and he's dressed to the nines. This guy is looking good. And he comes
always.
And he comes down. He stops in the middle of the breakfast, like they have a big like breakfast table. He stops and he just stands there for a second. And he makes everybody react to him. It's such a power move. And then he goes, "There's been a murder." That's a really bad Scottish.
He's
impression.
the best though.
He's so good. He's like an awesome.
I love
host.
Alan Cumming.
Yeah. The first season, like we got hooked on it. Just like one night, I threw it on. I'm like, this looks exactly what my brain needs right now. It's not stupid. Like there are reality. I'm not a big reality show guy, but there are reality shows where I'm like, this is stupid. I don't want to watch this.
Sure.
This is just clever enough and smart enough that
it works.
That it works for me, and like it keeps my brain. Like I'm guessing, like how are they going to figure this out? Like are they going to figure this out? Or
so
like what are you doing?
It's not Total Blackout, which you and I both loved.
Right. It's a little bit more in the vein of like a Survivor.
Cool.
The second season I wasn't sure about because it's all reality show stars. The first one was normal people in a reality show.
Yeah.
And the reality show stars can be grating. But then like halfway through the season, they kind of let their characters drop a little bit because they're all playing characters, these people.
Oh, yeah, because they built brands now off of whoever they were on the show. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then like they start to drop a little. And I got super into this season as well, too. Because I wasn't at first. I'm like, I don't like this as much. And now all of a sudden, like the finale's tonight, I'm like, Amy, you better stay up. Well,
we'll get through this review for you so you can get home. I know it means a lot to you. It's important.
Are you ready to talk about this?
Let's do it. It's been a while. Hope we can remember anything about the film.
I'm going to run through the plot and see what we can remember.
Let's do it.
This is Road Games. This is a movie that I was listening to the podcast. I think what happened was I was listening to the podcast with Elric Kane and what's her name? Rebecca McKendry.
McKendry, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about Australian horror because I think he was on like a Screen Drafts podcast. I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
One. I'm sure it's good. But this was one of the movies they mentioned. Then I Googled it, and I'm like, oh, I really want to watch this. Like this, is an early Jamie Lee movie that I have not seen either.
Sure. Yeah.
This is like prime Scream Queen era.
Big fan of hers. So
yes,
I like Stacey Keach.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is one of my like all-time favorite like underrated horror movies or thriller movies is Joyride. With Steve Zahn and Paul Walker.
Nikki's a big fan of that movie, and you know he's a huge fan.
Is that
Kevin?
Oh, really?
Oh, he loves
Candy
Joyride.
Cane.
Oh, he'll still talk about Rusty Nails and Candy Cane all the time. Next time you see him, bring up Candy Cane and Rusty Nails, and he'll right away.
I like anything. I will.
He'll light up.
Yeah. I had awkward run-in with him the other day in the bathroom. So.
Oh, at work, yes. Yeah. We all work together. Sometimes I forget.
Yeah, well, we don't see each other anymore either.
No.
Yeah.
No,
I'm all over the place. Anyway,
that's fine.
So that I'm like, I want to watch this. I'm like big into like those like cat and mouse like semi chases. I like Spielberg's Duel.
Duel's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Jeepers Creepers.
Yes. Yep. So like I'm like I want to watch this. So let's do it. First time I'd ever seen it, and I don't want to say I was blown away, but I was kind of close to blown away. This movie's sweet as hell.
Yeah. Man, the last time I can remember I'd never seen this before. I've heard of it. I knew Scream Factory put out a special edition of this one. That's, I think, where I first heard of it. I was like, what the hell's Road Games? And I have not been this pleasantly surprised by watching an older film for the first time since we covered either Dr. Phibes, which I had not seen previously, or Nightbreed, weirdly enough, which I had never seen.
Yeah.
So though, like this one's way up there with those kind of like, wow, I'm so psyched that I got to watch this for the first time in 2024.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
I think it holds up in a 2024 lens too. Like, this is a well shot, good looking movie. The most expensive Australian horror movie made to that point, I believe.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. So it's a good movie. Richard Franklin is the director, and we could talk about him in a little bit. But yeah, this is very much. He's a big Hitchcock guy.
Well, that shows.
Yes. Yeah. I believe he got Hitchcock to speak to one of his classes at some point, like at UC Berkeley or Davis. I can't remember where. But yeah, you can see those. You can see it's basically Rear Window with a little bit of Duel or like thrown in together.
There's some of that psychological paranoia stuff going on too that you would see in like a Rosemary's Baby, and not devil worshipy stuff, but like that kind of like that, like what's in his head, what's real, what's not. I like some of that stuff.
It's very much kind of like a Stranger Strange Land type deal where he's because he is American, right? And I actually think that helps the movie quite a bit because he's like I said, him and Jamie Lee are kind of outsiders in this whole world.
They're really the only American characters in the film, I think.
I think so, yeah. So that's kind of a staple of a lot of Australian horror movies is kind of the like Wake and Fright is very much like a school teacher, kind of like in a Deliverance sense, kind of like, or a Straw Dog sense even too, where like his manhood is tested because he's thrown in with a bunch of like rowdy outback. Right. What we call them, bushwhackers? Is that what they're called? Are they bushwhackers?
Is that? I don't know. I'm not sure.
I can't remember if that might be New Zealanders.
I don't know.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
You know what I mean though, rowdy outback guys.
I know. Yeah. The bushwhackers.
Yeah, there you go. All right, you want to dive into this plot? Anything more general thoughts? Or?
No, I just want to say before we get started, I want to make sure I get this thought out. What I think I appreciated most about this movie, just in general, was that we've often talked, and it was kind of like it was our mission statement for this show. We've gone away from it here and there, and we've gotten back to it here and there, but was to talk about kind of how films, what they represent based on the kind of the time period they were made in. What's cool about this one is that it's the plot and the story isn't necessarily representative of, I don't think, any specific societal fear or anything that was going on at the time. But what this movie is kind of a time capsule and kind of captures perfectly a certain era of filmmaking that I don't think can be replicated. This feels very of its time in the best way possible. Like, it feels like the most polished possible example of this type of film in this time period it was made. I know it sounds silly, but it just feels very of its time in the best way. And I appreciated it for that. So
absolutely.
Let's break it down.
All right. In rural Australia, truck driver Patrick Quid pulls into a motel for the night and notices a man in a green van checking in with a female hitchhiker. Quid had passed the hitchhiker earlier because trucking company policy forbade him from picking her up. In the motel room, the hitchhiker strums a guitar while the man unpacks a new guitar string. The man winds the string around his gloved hands and uses it to strangle the woman. This is a great opening. Like, very stylish.
Yeah.
Because it's weirdly lit. And the big card. The first murder is really cool.
Yeah, it's intense. You set the tone right away. Like you know, the stakes are high.
Yes.
Right out of the gate. Yep.
Richard Franklin, real quick, the director. So we talked a little bit about the Hitchcock. You can see a little bit. Well, De Palma was obviously influenced by Hitchcock too.
Yeah,
But a lot of this opening reminded me of like some De Palma stuff too. But Richard Franklin, he had directed Patrick, which I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
He'd also directed The Blue Lagoon. Do you remember The Blue Lagoon?
I do.
With Brooke Shields?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very.
He's a
controversial
producer.
film.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was because they were like, was the controversy?
Naked teenagers?
Yeah, they were like naked the
basically.
whole time. He was a producer, not the director. Sorry.
Okay. But he was involved. Yep.
And then he came back to do this Road Games, and then what I wanted to bring up too is he after this did Psycho 2. This got him the gig on Psycho 2.
Yeah, which is another movie that's I have to revisit that. It's from what I remember, it's pretty underrated.
I like Psycho 2 a lot.
Yeah. Psycho 3 I think is kind of a mixed bag for some people, but like Psycho 2 I think is pretty solid considering it's Psycho 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but once again we go back to the Hitchcock stuff too. So
yeah, and then like he did like a movie called Cloak and Dagger, which has like Henry Thomas in it. FX2, which I think is like an action movie. He did a bunch of TV later on, the Lost World TV show, the Beastmaster TV show. So yeah.
Yeah, he kind of did a lot of the like the lower budget sci-fi TV stuff.
Yes. So this, I think this and probably Psycho 2 are probably, and Patrick, of course. But like I would say, having seen his early movies now, I think this is the high point for him.
Yeah, I haven't seen everything and I haven't revisited a lot of it, but I can't imagine. Yeah, this.
Quid wakes the next morning in his truck. His pet dingo sniffs relentlessly at the garbage outside the motel. You big dingo fan?
So, I'm a big fan of blue and red heelers, which are part dingo.
What are those?
It's a type of dog. It's a breed.
Okay.
Blue heelers and red heelers. Australian cattle dogs.
Ah, okay.
Big fan. If I was to buy or not adopt, because you're not gonna. If I was to get a dog that was like a purebred type dog, it would be a blue or a red heeler,
which are part dingo.
Yes, they are part dingo by their nature, and I believe that the dog that plays the dog in this film is a red heeler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Bluey is a blue heeler.
Bluey the cartoon?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to ask, what's Rocco? He's a wallaby, isn't he? Rocco's
a wallaby. Yeah. Rocco's this whole different beast. Rocco's on drugs. That's a great show.
Rocco's Modern Life is a great
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a weird cartoon.
What a weird era of cartoons on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Did you ever hear about the fact they brought Ren and Stimpy back for a while? But they made it adult, like they say like the F word and stuff?
I didn't know that. I've been watching the new Beavis and Butthead, but that's not
okay.
comparable.
There's a new one?
There's a new with Mike Judge came back and it's awesome. It's so
sweet.
good.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Ren and Stimpy, I know they had like that Spike TV revival like a while ago.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
But they like swore and stuff.
Yeah, I remember, but I didn't watch much.
I heard it wasn't very good.
Okay.
Because it was like, it's not as good if you're like.
No, that part of what it made it work was it was subversive, like for kids.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what made Ren and Stimpy work.
Right. Anyway, sorry.
You get sidetracked because of the dingo who was sniffing relentlessly at the garbage outside the motel. Quid notices the van driver watching the dingo from the window of the motel room. Quid picks up a load of pigs from Universal Meats. He sets off for Perth with his load and passes various characters on the road. Australia is such a giant country too. Like Perth and Melbourne are like completely like.
I know, but like, why is it that we hear of like 3 cities in Australia and like the rest of it apparently is just some sort of like
just a wasteland,
just like animals that want to kill you. Have you heard about kangaroos, by the way?
I mean,
we can't talk about Australia. You've heard of them? You know kangaroos? No. Have you heard that they're like also kind of like horrifying animals?
Yeah, I would imagine they can be. Yeah.
You know what they do? Can I tell you about this?
What do they do?
They'll wade out into the water.
Okay.
Like up to their chest.
Yeah.
And just stand there and wait for you to go in and follow them so they can drown you.
Well, first of all, I wouldn't like mess.
No.
If I see a kangaroo like out in the wild, I just go, oh, whoa, that's a kangaroo. Like I'm not gonna mess with him.
Yeah.
Plus, have you seen the jacked kangaroo? Like that one kangaroo?
He's sweet.
That is just fucking.
But he's
been taking like protein powder for a week.
They're all jacked, man. It's crazy. But yeah, so basically, like they will, they do it because that's how they used to kill dingoes. If they were chased by a dingo, they'd go into water, wait for the dingo to follow them, and then they just pull them into the water and just stand there and like hold them down until they died. This is an actual photo of a. How horrifying is that? Can you imagine like going in your backyard and that shit's staring at you? Like because he's looking at you because he's thinking, I'm going to drown you now.
Well, My favorite, like, BuzzFeed listicles or whatever you call them, were always like, here's the most dangerous shit you have, like, animals in Australia.
Yeah.
Because there was always, like, an Australian guy comes out of his house and there's a giant snake just, like, biting a lamp in his front door.
Just, like, eating a lamp for no reason.
Like, eating a lamp.
Or, like, a spider that's the size of a crab. Like,
And, like, the people in Australia are just, like, snapping photos of it. Like,
they're like, whatever.
oh, mate.
I have an Australian friend, and I don't know how he's alive. He's fine.
He lived in Australia?
No, he is Australian. Like, he was born and raised in Australia.
Oh, okay. Does he still live there?
Yes.
How? I mean,
He's got children.
If you are a listener and you are in Australia, how have you survived this place?
Tell us how you get through. Do you guys get all sorts of cool shots and stuff, like, when you're young to, like, get you ready for it? Because the thing is, like, even if you try to escape to the let's say you get away from the kangaroos that are trying to drown you in lakes and shit. You get away from the poisonous spiders and snakes. Get away from all of them, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you make it out to the ocean. It's surrounded by, like, razor sharp coral reef and sharks.
Yeah.
I don't understand. What are we doing?
I'm sorry. I'm just doing.
No, it's fine.
I'm
these
looking
are
at
the
something.
questions to ask.
Looking at something right now. Crazy, like
Australia's nuts.
Oh yeah, 23 weird Australian animals you didn't know existed. This is I just typed it in. Oh my god, this bat. Like, this giant bat has stayed with, like, this picture has stayed with
like
me
a
my
person.
entire life.
It's like a person.
It looks, he's hanging,
in a bat costume.
He's hanging like Michael Keaton's Batman.
It's horrifying.
Yeah. Huge lizards just, like, hanging out. Just giant crocodiles. Like, what the fuck is going on here? And it's an old prison colony. Like, that was the thing. Like,
well, is there not a reason why they sent them there? I mean, they're like, best of luck. Like, yeah. I got to message him soon and be like, you all right?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then you're right. There are just, like, cities. Like, Melbourne hosted the Olympics one time. I would never go there for the Olympics. I mean,
is Australia the last continent you'd go to visit?
Actually, there's part of me that, no.
I'm not shitting on anybody. I'm just,
yeah.
like,
I would actually, like, I've made fun, but, like, I kind of want to, you know what? It probably is because I don't have anything to do really in Africa.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the issue with that is, like, I'd love to go to Egypt to see the pyramids.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not a great place to go hang out right now.
Yeah.
Is my understanding.
Yeah.
So
Australia, I would actually like to visit, but also, like, the plane ride. It's like, I don't know. It's like you're going to the moon and shit. Like, it takes forever.
Yeah, like you're, like, in a plane for 4 days.
You come back and you've lost, like, a week of your life.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. Like, you time travel. Who's gonna time travel to go get killed by something? I hope we have an Aussie listener who writes in. Honestly, I hope so.
Yeah, well, yeah. I might put out the call. So anyway, he's going to Perth, one of the cities in Australia, just a normal city.
One of the 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
And he's got a couple of characters he sees on the road, a nagging wife and her family, a cautious man hauling a sailboat, something that people just do. A cautious man hauling a sailboat is the description, and a station wagon crammed full of toy balls. He repeatedly passes by another female hitchhiker. Anyway, okay. You ever hitchhiked, by the way?
No.
Me either. Is that still a thing?
I'm sure.
Yeah, I bet it is. I bet it gets lonely on the road, doesn't it?
My dad had to kick a lot of people off at trains.
Oh, that's right. Your dad.
But that's a different beast.
Worked on trains. Yeah, like, what do they call that?
Rail
hopping, right? Or
yeah,
riding the rails. Yeah.
That's a whole different thing, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've driven past hitchhikers.
I mean, the thing is, like, hitchhiking, like, you do. Like that.
That's
place to place. I just did a very classy.
We talked about Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
He has a joke about that in one of his films.
But I think that's part of the deal, or the hitchhikers.
Yeah, I think the issue. Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, no, I've driven past hitchhikers. I remember as a kid going, like, "Why?
I haven't seen one in forever.
Shouldn't we help them?"
Yeah.
My parents were like, "No,
no, absolutely not."
No.
And I remember ass, gas, or grass.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was. Yeah.
I believe it.
That was a saying. Stacey Keach is in this movie.
Big fan.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's
like his work.
He was like he's had a pretty varied career. I mean, he's been in comedies. He's been in Escape from L.A., The Ninth Configuration for, like, maybe our purposes. But he's also in Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke.
A classic.
Yes. So I like Stacey Keach. I like when he shows up. He's in Blue Bloods. He's been in, like, Blue Bloods. Like,
he's still active. Oh, yeah.
That's what he's in right now,
Absolutely.
I think. But he was in the theater. He's in the Theater Hall of Fame. He's got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. But he doesn't have, like, a ton of leading roles, if I remember correctly.
No, this is a rare one for him.
Yeah.
Mostly a character actor.
Yeah.
Generally. But no, I like Stacey Keach quite a bit.
Me too. I think he's excellent.
Big fan.
Yeah.
Yep. He was really good on a show. God, what was the name of that show? Titus.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I like that show.
Was he Titus's dad?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The wife, Frita, creates a roadblock by streaming pink paper across the highway. When Quid stops at the sight of it, she climbs into his cab and orders Quid to catch up with her husband, who left her at the side of the road. They play 20 questions to pass the time. The wife informs Quid about the grisly murder of a woman, and his nonchalant answers start to disturb her. She suspects that he might be the serial killer on the news. You ever play 20 Questions?
Yes.
Is that a 50 Cent song?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
Not one of the best, but it is one.
It is one.
I mean, birthdays. Doesn't get better.
Yeah.
That's it. This is, I like all the colorful characters he meets. And that's part of the, of the time of this film. It feels like that's very much.
It's kind of like a road trip movie in some ways. Yeah,
it is. It is. Very Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yeah. But the tension is building in the background.
For sure. Because, and the thing is, at this point in time, too, and for a while here, honestly, up until the end, I think you could feel this way. Like, you're not really sure where he stands. Like, you're not sure, is he the killer? Like,
yeah, is he the killer? Is it all in his head? Is he losing it?
I was never fully.
And that's part of the Hitchcock stuff too.
Sure, absolutely.
You've got kind of an unreliable narrator in a lot of ways. Yeah.
I was not sure up until close to the end that he's on the level, but you don't know. So
Quid stops the truck when he sees the green van parked along the road. Its driver has several trash bags and an esky. He appears to be bearing the bags. When the van driver notices Quid watching him through binoculars, he abandons his work and drives away. Later at a roadhouse, the van driver assaults Quid's dingo. I did not like this.
I was very concerned.
Yeah, I did not like this. Quid gives chase, but he encounters the slow-driving boat owner who refuses to let Quid pass. Eventually, Quid destroys the boat, but the van is too far out. Oh, so that's like the boat part. Yeah, I remember this part.
It's very George Miller.
Well, so that's like vehicular insanity is like an Australian cinema trademark.
Sure is.
Yeah, they love their motorcycles and car chases, and Mad Max is the shining example, but
yeah, but that's a trope of exploitation stuff. Is that let's wreck some vehicles.
And there's always motorcycle gangs roving the wilds.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm gonna have to message Brenton and just be like, "Yo, are there really motorcycle gangs roaming the wilds?"
In addition to this crazy wildlife.
Yeah.
Remember, there was also there's is it Grant Page? I think his name was and there was that movie called Stunt Rock because he was a professional stuntman who did a lot of this stuff.
Oh yeah.
The stuntman, some people there's some famous because isn't Zoe Bell? Is she Australian?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's from New Zealand, I believe.
Now your friend is gonna be like, Tim, will you quit fucking confusing us with New Zealand?
He won't care. He's chill. He's weirdly chill for being from Australia.
Yeah.
They're all weirdly chill. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, when you're confronted, when you're thinking about
death constantly,
when
you're surrounded by death.
Quid picks up the second female hitchhiker, Pamela Rushworth, that he has passed before. She gradually reveals that she is the daughter of a powerful American diplomat. Hitchhiking in Australia. That's crazy. That's a crazy plot point. But you know what? You might as well go along with it.
I mean, you got to go your own way.
Quid urges Pamela to let her father know that she is all right. The duo discuss the serial killer. At a service station, they notice the van parked near the restroom. Quid sees a pair of feet in the toilet stall, and he thinks he has the killer cornered. Very Halloween. Speaking of Jamie Lee, yeah.
Absolutely.
Pamela investigates the van while Quid tries to get the man to exit the stall. As Pamela reaches for the esky inside the van, she realizes that the driver is sleeping on the floor. In the restroom, a biker emerges from the stall. Quid rushes outside to see that the van is gone. So yeah, okay, so this is where Jamie Lee comes in. It's weird Jamie Lee comes into this movie halfway through.
I was shocked actually at how late she wound up showing up. She wasn't a star at this point, though, to be fair. I mean...
Yeah, she had a Halloween and The Fog.
Had not yet done Trading Places, I don't believe.
No, that was her breakthrough outside of the horror stuff.
Right. That was kind of what pushed her into mainstream success.
Yeah, I think she had done Terror Train. I've got her film. in order later because I can't remember.
She'd done mostly horror genre stuff at this point in time.
She was pretty much she was in her Scream Queen era as the.
Yeah, but she look. I mean, I'm never angry to have Jamie Lee be a part of whatever I'm watching because she's always captivating. Everything I've ever seen her in, like even movies where I didn't necessarily love the movie, like I'm always drawn to her presence and her performances. So yep.
I was all like motivated a month ago. Real quick, so I got to get this out.
Yeah,
I took a bunch of notes on the history of Australian cinema leading up to this movie.
Goodness.
So I'm going to go through this as quick as I can.
Do it.
The first 60 years of Australian movies did not they were like not even loosely defined horror movies. It was all like social essays and like documentary style movies on like outback life and bushrangers. And like patriotic like war stories and stuff. And most of the major films produced there were made by American and British companies. It was in the 1970s. That's kind of like the Renaissance, and that's kind of where we're leading out of in this movie right here. And that's when kind of the early horror movies came into play, and kind of a lot of the stuff I talked about at the beginning of the episode here. Mm-hmm. But Wake and Fright is one of those. That was a Canadian director who did that. But you see a lot of the early like tropes and themes. Like the outsider and the isolation, and there's a lot of like there is like the threat of nature constantly, but there's also so then like the government subsidized movies, and one of the movies that like made money for them were horror movies, genre movies. They could sell them, but then
low budget.
Yes,
you know.
That's kind of what we saw with Canada too, around the same time, right? With like the Cronenberg stuff, the Canuxploitation. Yep. So it's very similar. So then we get stuff like the two Peter Weir movies, The Cars That Ate Paris, another car movie, and Picnic at Hanging Rock, which I mentioned a little bit there. So yeah, but the other movies, Everett DeRoche is another name from the early years, but stuff like The Long Weekend, Snapshot, Road Games he wrote.
Long Weekend, of course, was remade as Nature's Grave.
Nature's Grave, yes, thank you.
Yep.
Yes, that was the Jamie Blanks remake. Yep. Razorback, he wrote Razorback, which was directed by Russell Mulcahy.
I'm a big fan of that movie, actually.
Yeah. Razorback's good. Yeah. And it's kind of a fun, it's kind of a mix of all of the stuff we've talked about, but with a giant razorback.
I mean, we didn't even cover razorbacks. We talked about sharks and snakes. And
Yes. So, the end of the 70s, the beginning of the 80s is like a very busy time for Australian horror because they're getting those increased government involvement in the film industry. So that's kind of where we're at. We're also there was also some slasher movies too. Remember Nightmares?
I do.
Yes. Kind of an early slasher movie. So. And then, the guy we're talking about tonight. And also, like, the big thing, too, for film in general, a lot of it was Mad Max came out around this time as well. And that kind of ballooned into its own thing.
Which was, I mean, when you think of Australian genre, I mean, it's Mad Max. Mm-hmm. The Road Warrior came out in...
I think it was 81 or 82.
Yeah, 82, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So that would have been around the time of this, because this was 81.
Right.
So...
Yep.
So,
speaking of cars blowing up, and
yes, and if anybody wants that, not quite Hollywood documentary is really good, and it goes a lot more in depth than I just did. But I just kind of wanted to give kind of some context around when this movie came out.
No, that's good. I think that's on Amazon, right, for rental.
Yeah, I rented it. It was like $2, but I was watching those movies, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I would like to watch this documentary. So
Road Warrior was 81, by the way. Sorry,
cool.
You were right.
So same year as this. So cool. When Quid catches up to the van, it appears that Pamela is happily in the passenger seat. Later that night, Quid notices the van parked off the side of the road and pulls over to investigate. He hears people giggling in the bushes nearby and assumes that Pamela and the van driver engaged in sex. When he breaks into the van to investigate, he finds that the esky only contains food. Okay.
Yeah, this is the only period of the movie where I'll be honest, I start to get a little bit
antsy.
All right, let's go. Like that's yeah. I get a little bit because it's all right. Now we're I like that he's kind of mentally juggling how he feels about her. Does he trust her? Is this guy actually a killer? Was it all a con? What's the that stuff is okay, but I'm starting to reach a point where I want to I'd like to see the finale.
Right.
So that's the one. If I had to nitpick anything, it'd be that. I guess I'm just starting to feel a little bit like, all right, let's do it. Like, let's go. Yeah.
Here was Jamie Lee's. I knew I had it in here somewhere. Here's her filmography up to this point: Halloween, The Fog, Prom Night, Terror Train, and then she did. Remember, she was the computer narrator in Escape from New York.
Yes.
And then this movie came out the same year as Halloween 2. So 81.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So by this point, she was fully entrenched in this genre, and Trading Places was kind of her big breakthrough in the mainstream, right?
What year was that?
That would have been like 83,
83, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was her first chance to kind of break out. Yep.
She talks in that documentary I watched about like she faced some like prejudice and hostility on set because she was one of the only Americans, and like the Australian people are like, you're taking our jobs, like, but I think I would argue that them being American, like we mentioned earlier, adds to that isolation.
Well, it does. It benefits the film. But the thing is that was I don't know what it's like now. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm sure it's different. I hope it's different. But I remember like reading about James Cameron and Galen Hurd's experience on Aliens.
Okay.
And they were like treated like garbage.
Yeah.
Because they were both young. They hadn't done a ton yet at that point in time. And the Brits were like, you're going to come in and replace Ridley Scott. And they like hated them.
Yeah.
Like, so there was a lot of xenophobia stuff going on, even in filmmaking back then.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah, and that was 86 that it came out, so 85 they were shooting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was still going on. Yeah.
I forgot. The giggling sex thing reminded me.
Yeah, who was having sex?
There was people.
We never determined that, right?
Just randy people in the bushes.
Just
bush
people.
A lot of the other early Australian movies from like the 60s and 70s were like goofy, like sex movies.
Yeah.
Because Australia, it is a wild place.
You need some levity when you're living amongst the
real quick, I'm gonna look up another
drowning kangaroos.
Another weird
because
animal real quick, and
let's hear it.
Here is just a spider. Oh my god! Oh god! There is nothing scarier to me than a toilet snake.
It's horrifying. Can you imagine lifting your seat up and you see that thing?
I would like when I first heard.
You die, right?
I had first heard of toilet snakes when I was a kid, and there was a good probably year of my life where I would inspect the toilet.
You were convinced that
yes. I don't know who happen. Ever let that slip out around me, but they were foolish.
They just sit there and kind of.
Oh God, I can't
like right now. You're having a hard time.
Like, how does this happen?
Like you looked at my bathroom and you went like, "What if there's a toilet snake?"
I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Like I don't want to sit. I don't want to poop.
Yeah,
it's probably.
You just gotta lift and back up. Make sure you're ready.
I would constantly look between my legs.
Would you? You thought it was going to come up through the.
I was always checking for toilet snakes.
Man, that's so sad. I'm sorry. I was scared of drains and bathtubs.
Yeah.
Because of it.
Ah, okay, not snakes.
I thought Tim Curry was going to.
Tim Curry, I'd be fine with.
Yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, but yeah.
All right, we're getting to the end here, so I've got a couple of big paragraphs. Let me know if
Let's do it.
Quid arrives at the outskirts of Perth, and that's the thing. We're near Perth, but it's still just outback. It's
pretty
land.
Pretty much.
While reporting to the way station, sees the van. He follows the van through the streets of Perth, trailed by the police. Yeah, we are in civilization now, thank God. Eventually, the van reaches a dead end, and Quid's truck becomes stuck in the narrow alleys. I like this. I like seeing the big truck in the...
It's cool.
Yeah. The driver approaches Quid's truck and attempts to strangle him with the garrote, but Quid manages to disarm him. When Quid starts to strangle the van driver with the same weapon, the police arrive and assume Quid is the killer.
I thought we were going to end here, by the way.
Yeah, what did you think?
I really thought the guy was going to fade into the crowd and that Quid was going to get popped, and I was like, oh, man, that is that is bleak. Anyway.
But that doesn't happen because upon freeing a gagged and bound Pamela from the van, the police learn that Quid is innocent and Pamela's actual captor is caught whilst trying to escape through the crowd. When Quid finally delivers the meat shipment, he relates to Pamela that after he had found his trailer door open and discovered the load weight a few kilos over, he had presumed that the van driver had killed her and disposed of her inside of his trailer.
Back at the meat facility, a woman cleaning out the back of the trailer is brushed by a guitar string hanging from above the ceiling, and on pulling it, gets a nasty surprise as a human head falls from above and lands in her soap bucket. And I believe that's the end.
I like the reveal at the end. I like the head.
Yeah.
The director did not like the head.
The distributor is Avco. They wanted the film to have a more shocking conclusion, so the production went back to shoot the final scene at the butcher shop. He dislikes it.
I kind of liked it.
He feels that the movie was too tasteless. Like, it was too tasteless for the rest of the movie.
It's trashy, but I like it.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's a funny movie too. Like, I get a kick out of a lot of this.
It's humorous. It's got some really solid, especially in the third act, some really solid like vehicular chase scenes, some action. I think our leads are like it's a really good movie. It's a good movie.
I think, and I mentioned this in our Discord, I think this qualifies kind of as a hidden gem at this point because
it does.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think, and I don't think this is necessarily like this is not straight horror. So if you're somebody who maybe listens to us and aren't like super into horror, I think you will find a lot of stuff to like, because it's kind of like a Hitchcockian thriller. Is what it is.
It's more suspense thriller than it is horror, but it's I enjoyed it a lot. I think it was really cool. I'm happy to have watched it. It's on YouTube.
It is on YouTube
with
free.
ads.
Yeah.
But very limited ads though. YouTube does a pretty good job of not like bombarding you with ads.
Right.
That's my experience at least. Yeah, I really think it's worth checking out. I think a lot of people probably have not seen this. A lot of people really haven't heard of this movie. And yeah, it's just a really good movie. And I mean that like when I feel like nowadays when you like film criticism, like if you say good, it's kind of like almost like it's okay, but no, it's a good movie. Like, is it a classic? No,
but
it's a good
solid.
movie. Yeah,
this also kind of reminds me of one of my favorite movies from the '90s, and it's very similar now that I think about it in a lot of ways. But Breakdown with Kurt Russell. Like
another really good movie,
very solid thriller that you sit down and watch. And you just get into it for like 90 minutes to 2 hours.
It's probably not making your top 10 list, but
yes,
then there's only 10 in that list. So like, what are we? Yeah, we have to be worst or best a lot of the times nowadays. Like, I think people like sleep on movies that are just like good movies, and and this is one of them. And it's not worth sleeping on. I think it's like definitely worth checking out. So
I think like you said, I do think sometimes we lose that sense of discovery with a lot of the way streaming is. You have to seek out and pick something. You don't just like stumble across it one day. But this would be like a awesome like stumble across one day flipping channels movie
for sure. Yeah, or like walking the video store aisles and you're like, oh, this VHS cover's kind of cool. Oh, the back sounds neat.
Jamie Lee.
Totally. Yep.
Cool.
So well worth checking out.
Yep. Willie, you have a big show coming up this weekend. You want to tell the good people about it?
Yeah. So, you guys know, I know that, you might not all be wrestling fans, and that's all good, but I do have a wrestling show coming up, on March 9th, which is Saturday.
Yes.
This will be in Lincoln Park at the Lincoln Park Bandshell. We are doing a charity show for an organization called Luna's Helping Hands. And it's an organization that we've worked with before, but we've never done a full-on charity, kind of like charity, like fundraising show for them. This is going to be a first for us in that respect. It's a great cause. The gentleman who runs the organization is a really good guy and really devoted to the city of Lincoln Park, and he's fought a lot of battles in his life, is still fighting them, and he's still trying to give back through his organization. They benefit domestic abuse survivors and drug abuse survivors.
One more time, what was the name of it again? Just in case
Luna's
people
Helping Hands.
Yeah, just in case people can't make it out to the show or anything.
Yes,
check them out. Yeah, and
yeah.
I'm sure you can donate through their website as well.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Look up Luna's Helping Hands. Great cause. Really excited to do it. We got a good card going on here. The amazing part about this show to me is that, it was something that was put together very quickly. I'm so impressed by the people that are going to be at the show, both talent that are going to be in the ring and everybody who is working behind the scenes, because these shows take a lot of planning, and even small wrestling shows take a ton of planning and coordination. And this one had much less lead time than most, but because it was for a good cause, they made it happen. I can't take credit for any of it, but they made it happen, and it's really cool. And it's on my birthday, so come on out.
Yes, wish Willie a happy birthday.
See your boy on your birthday. Or just, I don't know, check out their website and donate. But we've got a really good card. We got Daniel Wolf and Johnny Go up against the Congregation.
I'm a Johnny Go fan.
Johnny Go's great. Yep. We got Leela Hall and Ricky Morris going at it. The ex-training partners up against each other. The face, the heel, the good, the bad. I like that. Great Tiger is going to be in action. The Great Tiger versus the Soul Taker.
Oh wow, that's a
match.
That's a bit of a dream match, isn't it?
That's a dream match right there. Yeah, I don't think you're ever going to see this again. This is like as good as it gets.
Once in a lifetime.
The Great Akuma's in action up against Mikey Morner. Young guy trying to prove himself. Great Akuma's kind of a vet in the business, so we'll see. Yeah, there's really good stuff. So
awesome.
Josie's favorite Brutus Atwell will be in action, which I always love to see Brutus. He sent Josie a very sweet.
I remember you telling me
message.
that. Yeah.
Yes, it was very nice. She was sick, and the Swamp Man helped her out. So thanks, Brutus. I don't know if you're listening. I think you're aware of this show, but thank you. So check it out.
Awesome.
Luna's Helping Hands.
Yes.
That's the organization.
Awesome. And I always I will try to put the link to the YouTube or the Facebook too, so you can watch it, because I know you guys like to upload those because it's Superior Championship Wrestling now.
Correct.
On YouTube.
Superior Championship Wrestling is the official, the new title of the wrestling company.
Willie, we didn't talk about it, so now that we're at the end and only the hardest of the hardcores are still with us here after we didn't talk about it in what we've been watching. But how perfect was Sting's last match? Was that like the sickest fucking thing? So speaking of wrestling, since we're watching wrestling,
yeah, some people are already tuned out, and that's fine. Look, Sting is. I was a WWF guy back when they were doing the
late 90s,
the rivalry, and but I was always obsessed with Sting. I always thought he was like, that's the guy. Like, if I was to watch the other show, it'd be for him, because he's like the Crow. He's cool. He's up there, And it was sweet. I mean, what a send off!
I thought it was. It
was excellent.
I thought the whole thing was just perfection.
The presentation was wonderful,
and then doing it in Greensboro, where he kicked off a lot of his big singles. Actually, it's Ric Flair back
having
in '88.
Flair there, even though I have issues with Flair.
But like
having Steamboat there, having JR and Shivani calling the commentary.
Having his kids
involved,
in the
but
whole
not like, I mean, they were involved and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been goofy, but it worked.
Having to go against heels that were getting actual heel heat in 2024,
and having them like put on a hell of a show too.
Yeah.
It was great.
It's
as good of. Have you ever seen a better send off? Honestly, a better send off that hopefully that I think this one's gonna.
That's the thing is, like,
I think it's gonna stick.
I think it's gonna stick too, because I can't. Here's the thing. The other thing too, and I'm very happy he did this outside. I am happy he did it in AEW, because Sting was never a WWE guy or WWF guy to me.
No, and I was like, when he came over there, I was excited. I legitimately, I was like, this is cool, you know. And by the end of it, I went, yep, I knew I didn't like the way it was handled.
They didn't get him. They didn't get him. I'll just say, and they didn't get him, and AW did. And to watch it happen in Greensboro, and to watch it be kind of a send off, because he's kind of really the last major Jim Crockett guy, with Jim Crockett promotion guy too. Ricky Morton's still out there kicking, but you know what I mean, of like the main event guys, because Flair is doing his thing, whatever he's doing. But you know what I mean. Steamboat can't go anymore. Although Steamboat looks great.
He looks great, yeah. But he's smart enough to not.
Yeah. So, but you know what I mean, and like the whole thing just felt like a big send off to that whole, and to
that
have him
era of
have him do it outside and to be celebrated in that way.
It was cool.
I was so happy.
It was cool.
And I can't remember like the last time I was that taken aback by it and like just
I
along
know.
for the ride.
I was smiling ear to ear, man.
Yeah.
I was like, how cool is this? Like this is the way it should be. Like this is the.
As far as retirement, yeah, like because there's the one Michaels, because remember, doesn't he? God, I'm really bad at this, so maybe it isn't that good. But Michaels and Flair, remember that's kind of the stick up. But then the Undertaker one where Michaels gets beat, and then never comes back. But was that a retirement match? The second Mania match?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
but then he came back.
That's the thing. And he came back
Saudi.
He came back for a Saudi show. I don't think Sting's ever coming back for a Saudi show either.
No.
On top,
and
I think
Flair came back for a bunch of stuff.
Yes, yeah. Woo Energy mainly. So
mostly to pay off alimony, hush money. I'm sure
legal fees. Yes.
I don't think Sting's going to come back beyond maybe doing some on-screen appearances and stuff like that. And I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
I hope he never wrestles a match again.
Me too.
Hope he sticks to that.
And I thought it was a great final run, and
yes.
I'm happy. I'm happy it went the way it went.
Agreed.
I wanted to talk to you about that though. Well, we could.
A Sting.
Yes. Well, then I know the founder is a fan, so
he's a huge fan.
Yeah.
He did say he was he wanted Sting in the Hall of Fame, and I got to tell the founder because I know he's listening.
Yeah.
As he saved us earlier tonight, by the way.
He did. Thank you again.
He came through.
Alex is in the podcasting Hall of Fame. My podcasting Hall
He's
of
the
Fame.
first entry.
Yes.
Yeah, he's the OG entry.
Yeah.
Yep. Stephen Tobolowsky is the second entry.
Select company there. Yes. Those.
But no, in all seriousness, he mentioned that he wanted Sting in the Hall of Fame. He's in 2 Hall of Fames.
Yeah.
I think the only 2 that exist.
Yes.
So Alex.
You know what? He's not in the maybe Alex is like a secret like hardcore wrestling fan, because I don't think he's in the Observer Hall of Fame, the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. So maybe Alex is like.
He's a Meltzer fan?
Yeah, he's a Meltzer fan.
Meltzer's losing his mind. Okay, we're not going to do
Let's not get too, we're going way
too deep. All right, Sting's last match was awesome. Sting is horror adjacent because he did the cool crow stuff.
Yep.
And that's our excuse for talking about that.
There you go.
We don't need one, but
if you want to email us, horrormovieyearbook@gmail.com, you can. We're on social media wherever. You can get us on there, but we have said many times we want emails. And if you're going to email us to be like, hey, quit talking about Sting, why don't you save it?
You can email us. We're not going to stop talking about Sting. Tim, you're going to ask me what we're watching next because I think it's my pick.
Yeah, I think you said you had something in mind last time, but it's been a month and a half.
Guess what? Yeah. Whatever that is gone.
The only thing. So, are you looking at anything in particular? Because
I can read half of them from this distance. You've got contacts in, so you're probably better off than I am.
Because I was going to pitch something to you.
Pitch it.
It's March. We should do a bracket.
I'm down. March Madness. I like that. All right.
I don't know
what kind of
what
bracket
yet, though. But I think we should do a bracket.
What kind of bracket would you do?
I don't know. Maybe you and I should workshop this.
We can talk about this. We can do a bracket though. I haven't done a bracket in a long time. I would like to do that. I think that's a lot of fun. In the past, we've certainly got a lot of positive response to brackets.
Mm-hmm.
Let's workshop this. We have not done a Stephen King bracket, have we?
Yeah, we did the King of Kings is what it was
Ooh,
called.
the King of Kings. That's right.
Yes.
That's too bad. All right. Okay.
We've done King, we've done Carpenter. I don't know if we've done Craven. I thought about I remember thinking about doing Alien, but we did the Alien versus Predator versus Terminator bracket.
That's right. We've done some good brackets. We're going to workshop this one. I have an idea.
So the last thing we did the sequel. We did the number 2 bracket. Remember the number 3 bracket. What was your idea?
We're going to do, if we go with my idea, one-off slasher villains bracket.
The villains themselves.
Against each other.
Oh, so we're going to come up with we'll have to think about, okay.
Well, it could be we could do the movies even.
Okay.
That's fine. But one-offs. No sequels. No remakes.
Okay.
One-offs.
Okay. Okay. So the slashers
Shocker.
themselves are so like Shocker.
Let's do the movies.
Okay.
Let's do the movies. Shocker beats everybody.
Maybe we haven't.
In power, though. I mean, he can't. How can he be defeated?
That is fair. Plus, it's Mitch Pileggi. Yeah.
Horace Pinker wins. But if we go movies, he might not.
Okay.
But I'm talking like The Prowler, The Burning, Shocker.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be... man, there's more. I know there's more.
We'll do some.
Valentine.
Yeah. Yes.
There's some good one-off horror films or slasher films where slashers usually get sequels, but there's
so even like direct-to-video sequels where
don't count. No, you
count.
can't. You gotta wipe it away.
Okay.
Just one-off slasher. That's my idea.
Yeah.
This might not be the final episode. We might wind up going, oh, we can't come up with enough ideas. So you will hear about it. You'll know when you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's just my idea off the cuff.
I like that idea.
Yep.
All right. Everybody, thank you for listening.
Yes.
Stay safe and stay scared.